Hello everybody. Today we're going to look at the possibilities of Mylar. You've got a piece of Mylar in your package. It's often called vellum, and it's really malleable. You can use it in a variety of different ways, and you can use many different kinds of materials with it. So what I'm going to do to start is that I'm going to use the cover of my accordion book, and it's got a lovely sort of raised textured surface. This chrysanthemum with its embroidery and the leaf is going to be the beginning of something that I might like to use as one of the pages in the book. I'm using a soft pencil. It's a 3B pencil, and I'm just rubbing really gently, and I'm picking up the texture of the embroidery, just going very gently over this in one direction, and I'm going to use the leaf and maybe draw more into this later on as one of the pages that I'm going to develop. Very gentle, and lots of possibilities in this rubbing, I think. Another thing that you can do is to use a leaf, a found object, something natural like a feather, something that you found along your way. And again here I'm going to use this, putting the leaf on top of the Mylar. I've just anchored it down with a little bit of masking tape, and I'm going to use a gestural mark working around the leaf to pick up the textures around it. Once I've got the shape of the leaf, then I can really begin to develop these shading lines and go back into them and work up the contrast. Okay, so just developing that as I go. You can see on the back the way that it's working, where I'm going to get the negative shape of the leaf and then all this detail. And of course I can work from the back as well, so that I can have the lines on the front and then on the back as well, which is probably going to also make it easier to be able to draw from the back too. So it'll be interesting to see what that begins to look like as I go. So another thing that one can do is to use oil pastel on Mylar. So the oil pastel is here on the front, and then I've got the smooth surface here on the back, and I can either scratch words into the oil pastel or I can write them. And you can use a black marker for this to write the words. And because I've got some ink here, and some of you were interested in looking at the ink, I'm just going to use some of this ink, and I'm going to draw directly with the nib with a stopper, and I'm going to So it's ink on oil pastel, and it's on the shiny side, and it's just creating a layer there of color. And here was another example of that, where you don't fill in the whole background and just using the words. You can use found material as well that you can use. This is obviously a little doily, and again I've used the oil pastels, and I've created this sort of halo effect, and then I'm just going to use marker, and I'm going to sort of start filling in all the little spaces in the doily and just tracing them around. Just showing how you can use the marker as well if you don't have the ink. I mean, this works really nicely. And the pattern is building up. Okay. So I've spent a lot of time sitting in this chair over the COVID time, and it's part of one of my drawings as well. And so I've cut out the shape of that chair from the drawing, and what I'm going to be doing is a wash of color. So I'm just going to take my watercolors and use some black watercolor here, and I'm just going to paint with watercolor behind the image. I've cut out some of the spaces in the chair. And I love this sort of painterly quality of this. Just as I go around the background here. Just filling in this background. Gestural marks. Could let that dry, but when you lift it up, it's leaving the print of the chair in the background. And then I'm going to use collage a series of words that I've collected that I'm going to use and layer over the chair so that they become part of the composition as well. Words that I've been collecting, finding words like together, resilience, opening things up, and this is going to become part of my collage. I quite like the contrast of the red and the black alongside here. And then finally, I just want to talk about the possibility of using different kinds of materials on Mylar as well. And with Mylar, you can use linseed oil, you can use vegetable food coloring, and even charcoal powder that has been, you can buy this at an art store and you can use it. And these materials become very much like a sort of mixed media technique where you can do a wash of crayon and then mix the linseed oil on top of it, sprinkle some of the charcoal powder or even spices on this to create some sort of interesting raised effect. Okay, so lots of possibilities here, and look forward to seeing what you're going to be creating with your Mylar. Thank you.